has sounded recently, like
What is up, guys?
a crypto degen from 10 years ago.
We are watching
where he says,
FrugalBC
"Tokenize
live,
all
and
things." That used to be a
yeah, we got
rallying
something
cry
really
for
cool
us,
going
and
on. We got
we
Stacy
have
Warden
this
is going to be
with
speaking at the Digital
universal
Assets
markets with this universal
Conference,
format
and we're very
of
excited about
tokens,
that.
fungible, non-fungible, different tokens. They can all trade against
So
one
she's going to
another,
be
and so we're
speaking
gonna
in
have
about
liquidity for so many more
15
assets
minutes,
so much
and
more
I thought we'd go live
velocity.
and check it out.
So why
So
is
I'm just
this
getting the
a
stream
Durham's
set up,
moment?
so forgive me.
We have been
Might
building
take me a little bit,
layer
but in the
after
meantime,
layer
yeah,
of
let me know how you're
enabling
doing out there.
infrastructure,
Snail
either at
with
the protocol
Groceries, it's
layer,
good to see you. Good
scalability
to see you,
layers,
Snail with
DeFi
Groceries.
layers,
We are going to be talking
identity
about.
layers, and we're just about
We're going to
at our
watch. We're
broadband
going to
moment,
live stream Stacy
where
Warden speaking at the
Ethereum,
crypto conference.
and I think of Ethereum
Doesn't look like
now
she's
as
on yet. She should be
metropolitan
coming on in
Ethereum. So
about
there's layer
15
one, and then
minutes.
there's
So in
lots
the
of
meantime, I thought we'd
layer
get
two
this
and
live
some layer
stream
three networks
kicked
that are all
off.
connected to one another. We are now scalable enough.
And I'm just putting all the stuff on. I'm just putting all the stuff on.
Scalability
It's
and
kind of hard
vertical
because, like,
scalability. We're now
especially when you
affordable
just kind of
enough.
like choose
So
to go
block
live
space
like
is
this. It
cheap.
takes a little
Blob
while.
space
So
is cheap. Ideally,
let's
it will
see.
stay cheap for a long time. That
I'm gonna say
won't
no.
happen
Let's
soonish
see.
when things get
Could
really
do my
busy.
tags
At
around.
Ethereum layer 2s, and they're all settling
Stacy
to Ethereum layer 1. Ether will get expensive.
Let's see
at
if the
that
Algorand
point.
price goes up. I'm curious, like, what the price will do
Usability
while
is quite good
while
and
she's
it's gonna get
speaking. So she's
amazing
she's
over the
going
next
right in
12,
between
18, 24 months
apparently
as
Donald
we add
Trump
AI,
and Michael
to
Saylor, which is really
user
interesting.
interfaces and be able to just express our intents and have solver networks take care of what we want done, and probably take 2 seconds to
Is it
get
Saylor with
things
a
done.
Y? How do you spell
And
Michael
in
Saylor's
the
name?
United States of America, it is now safe.
I gotta look here. Yeah, Saylor. S-A-Y. I had to double check. I didn't know how you said his name. Bloopity bloop. What's up, BC? I said, what's up, buddy? Thanks for watching. Appreciate you being here. Yeah, it should be an interesting video. We're about 14 minutes away. We'll see if it actually starts on time. I got my coffee ready. We're gonna watch this thing. I'm watching it. I got it up on my screen here, and we'll have that up on the screen in a minute. Just kind of getting some of my basics down. Saylor, Trump, crypto, maybe crypto bull run. Actually, let's do digital assets. In the meantime, how's everyone doing out there? How's everyone feeling about stuff? One more thing I got to do. One more thing to do here, and then we'll be rocking and rolling. Yeah, and I wasn't even gonna. I didn't even know when this was gonna happen until I found out this morning and thought, yeah, I'll get on this. We got a good audience going already. That's good. I like to see that. Let's see. Go to my channel. I just gotta put the info in, and we'll be good to go. And I like that it's using my face, a screenshot of my face, and not the. Today, not the kind of generic screen it usually uses, so that's good. Almost done with this. That's usually why I do the starting soon thing, actually. Snail Grocer says, very interesting traditional markets, not too confident for the rest of the year. Yeah, it's kind of funny. That's kind of the situation I'm in right now. Is, well, Algo just crossed 20 cents, so that's kind of nice. For a members only, I did a members only video about my current Tiny Man experiment not going so well. So if you want to become a channel member, you can go check that out. We shall see. I have a huge parabola going back to early 2000s. Could get ugly. Yeah, and that's the thing. We had really good times for a long time. I think it was the last down market 2018. I'm trying to remember, because we had 1 year. I had 1 year where it was down recently. I think it was 2018, and since then it hasn't been going so great. So just keep an eye on things. She is not speaking yet. In fact, I'm going to go switch to the screen here. So this is the live stream right here. We'll turn it on. We'll turn the volume on when it's actually. Did I shorten it? Oh, I actually shortened it too much. Hold on. There we go. So it might be a little bit off when we pop it up, but yeah. Actually, while we're waiting, let's we can look at some charts while we wait. And yeah, you got a little green candle coming up. We're actually above 20 cents right now, so that's kind of nice. Maybe possibly could have something to do with Stacy speaking between right in the middle. Oops, just fell 1999. Might have something to do with Stacy speaking right between Donald Trump and Michael Saylor. Although, is it me or is he not on stage? And obviously Trump isn't on stage, so is this going to go longer? That is not either of them, so. In fact, let me back up here. Just after POTUS. Yeah, we don't have POTUS. Maybe POTUS didn't show. That's possible, I suppose. So actually, apparently Donald Trump was going to go first. And then Stacy, then Michael Saylor. And I don't see any of those people on screen, which I guess it means we just live stream a little longer. I have to go out and shovel snow too. We actually got some stupid snow last night, which I know I'm getting off topic here, but the snow in January is very good. I like to do winter sports. Snow in March means that it's just going to be slop for a while, and you can't do anything outdoors, and it's really annoying to do anything outdoors. I don't like that. So yeah, it's really cool that Stacy and Snail says Stacy for the W. Yeah, for sure. Stacy for the win. I think it's really cool that she got. I don't know if that was just blind luck that she ended up being between Trump and Michael Saylor, but both of those will draw a lot of attention. I'm sure a lot of people will be paying attention. And well, that's good. But yeah, I don't see either one on stage, which makes me a little bit nervous. If Trump comes on, we're gonna live stream that, and maybe we'll stick around for Saylor too. But it's supposed to be 9:45 my time, 10:45 Eastern. So I don't recognize this guy, and I don't have the schedule in front of me, so I don't know when I don't know who this is. I'll probably have to turn up the volume when I got the volume off right now, so we're not listening to it for anyone wondering. Well, while we wait for Stacy to show up, yeah, doesn't it? No, I like that green candle. Let's look at our traditional. We got Bollinger Bands. RSI. Well, so we should have strong momentum. We got this. This is a nice looking RSI. Not exactly this right here, which is when you see those big candles, but we got a trend line going up on the RSI. That usually means you're going to start seeing a pump. So as long as that continues, should be good for making back some of them losses from earlier. Good to see. It's also at the top of the Bollinger Band. That's not always a great sign, although you can see it exceeds it sometimes when you get a good pump. So hard to say. And I one of the things I'm always concerned about when we talk about this stuff is how much is cause and effect. Like one thing I was told, and it seems to play out at least somewhat well, is that when RSI is really low, like down here, and you're at the bottom of the Bollinger Band, you usually get a pump, but sometimes it's like barely, you know what I mean? So it's like it's not 100% thing, right? It's like you get that bottom. If you catch it, if you check in the charts and you catch it's on the 4-hour chart specifically, is what I was told. If you get it on the bottom of the Bollinger Band, you got a good chance for a good trade. But it's a chance. None of this stuff is 100% is the point. So let's go back. I just want to check. Looks like the same panel, but I just want to see. I'm pretty sure I don't know if that's the moderator. Let's see. By the way, if we're cutting away to other things and you see that Stacy's speaking, definitely let me know in the chat whether you're on Kick or whether you're on X or on YouTube. Do definitely let me know. definitely give me a shout out. Hit the like button. If you haven't hit the like button, by the way, guys, or subscribe it, you can subscribe to Kick just eased back its monetization requirements, which is really cool, except it doesn't seem to work, which is annoying. I'm not sure why that is. For some reason, it just doesn't want to work. I don't really understand that, but it says Stripe Connect and then it says broken. So, and apparently someone tried to reach out to Kick support and they just said, nope, it works. And they're like, not really, but anyway, but do give me a follow on Kick. You used to need 75 followers to get monetized, and now you can get the first stage of monetization where you can get subscribers and stuff like that. Pretty much right away, as long as you stream for 5 hours. Yes, it's the same people on. Felicia says listening for work on YouTube. Happy you're streaming this. Yeah, thanks, Feely. Good, glad to have you here. Glad to have you in the audience for sure. And yeah, I don't know when it's supposed to be in 5 minutes, but Trump is supposed to speak first, and I don't see him on there. So, like I said, definitely anyone in the audience. Blame. Feely says blame Mercury retrograde for your problems. Yeah, can we blame that on the charts? But actually, they're looking potentially like maybe something good's gonna happen. I don't know. We did get one of these little RSI bounces right there. Anyway, while we're at it, we can go to the ASA charts here. Tiny falling a little bit. Yeah, so I'm like, so I earn my rewards in Tiny now, and I've just been banking them until they're over 3 cents. Then I'll take some then I'll convert again. And I'll tell you what, I just sent some of my USDC over on its way to my bank account because I had a pretty expensive car repair bill, and crypto helped me out a little bit. And like I said, we're going to turn the sound on. We'll mostly watch this once it's actually live, but we're still waiting for, because Trump is supposed to come up and then Stacy, and I don't know. It looks like we got a little ways to go before. I imagine Trump will probably make it pretty quick. I think he's probably got a lot to do, would be my guess. I guess I don't know that for sure. Link on X says go algo. Yes, I 100% agree. And should be. I hope it's coming up. I kind of had a feeling the stuff that like it's supposed to start on time, but ends up not starting on time. Pretty common in the crypto world. Or just that's just been the bane of my existence in general. Yeah, not looking. ASA chart's not looking good. I mean, Pokegold had a nice little week on it. That's cool. Coin did okay, but nothing's doing all that great today except 1 hour pump for Gora here. Some of them are looking okay. I'm waiting for Opulus to drop off. I don't want them to be on the top anymore. They abandoned Algorand. I'm not okay with that. Sorry. Look at Daffy Rewards. Daffy Rewards having a day. Let's look at this. And sorry, I got to keep checking back to make sure. But nice little day after. This is quite a crash. So, but it was also, yeah, I don't know. We'd have to zoom out around the day. Let's go to weekly charts, see if that looks like. Yeah, I would just call that middling. It's really by the way, super typical ASA chart. El Mysterioso says, good morning, Algo fam. And Catherine Gallagher says, I hope they discuss chips and Algorand Casino. Yeah, we'll see about that. We'll see. Well, first we got to get them up. Good grief. Wait a minute. Is this the live stream? How come it says live, but it says...
One is...
Oh, I see.
One of the things in the roadmap
So we
that
were,
will
for some
help,
reason, I must have
particularly as
paused
we
it
were
at some
talking
point. I didn't think I
about,
paused it, but I
staking
guess I did.
and how you make those work in
Yeah, so
ETFs.
anyway, yeah, if you're on
Having executions
YouTube and you haven't hit the
ultimately
like
come down to be
button,
more
please do
predictable
so.
will
That
really
helps
help
show
in
the
that way.
show to more people.
So, and having
Show the show.
institutions like
I'll think
BlackRock
about that.
serve as a
Helps get the
forcing
show out to
function,
more people
for our
and
ecosystem,
spreads the
for
word
our
about
technology,
Algorand, all good
for
stuff.
our different
And
research teams.
you know, we're not
is
just about
wonderful.
Algorand on this
So
channel.
we-
It's just the
we
one
do a
that
lot of
works the
thinking
best in my
about things
opinion
that
right
they
now.
care about. Execute
And
is one of
I like
them.
the stuff that I think they're doing the most in
Balances,
RWA
max
right now.
effective
I really
balances,
do. So
reducing the number of validators, reducing the number
yeah,
of
what else
the
we
amount of bandwidth necessary in these peer-to-peer
so that's
systems.
Daffy. So I was like really excited, but it's like
If we're looking at
these things can be
the
a little bit
ETFs,
misleading,
and
especially
wanting to
if you
add
look here.
yield,
Yeah, we were.
one of
This is
the
like really
major
super
dangers
typical ASA.
of staking is that
El
you
Mysterioso
could be
says Alpha
slashed,
Arcade is as close as I get
it's
to
the way
a
it's supposed to
casino.
work. But
That's
if
funny.
we can do things
Well,
to evolve the protocol,
here's the thing
or
about
just
Algorand
evolve how the
Casino
ecosystem
is
works. For instance,
you want to play the
we have
house. Not a
5
bad
execution
thing to do,
clients
is
that
it?
all sync
Okay,
to
so
one
now it's-
another
yeah, we're caught
according
up
to a
now, not
specification.
behind.
If we can make sure that they are,
I kind of wish they had a little
evenly
thing
distributed
that said like who
across
this was, and then we could go
those 5
compare
clients,
with the
then
schedule.
any sort of staking
Because I don't know
penalty,
who's speaking
will
now.
be
I just
much
know
smaller
that
than if
Trump is supposed to
there's
go,
too
then
much
Stacy,
concentration in one of
then
those
Michael
ones.
Saylor, and I don't see any of them on
Ethereum
stage.
is responding
so
to demand and
interesting.
institutional adoption, so we appreciate everything from like BlackRock leading the charge on that.
Wait, isn't it
Last
muted?
question, and zooming out, we
Oh, sorry about that. I thought it was muted. I didn't have the sound on. Sorry about that. I had no idea that it was on. Did they say anything interesting? Thanks for pointing that out. I didn't realize. Well, no wonder everyone's like probably not hearing what I'm saying. Yeah, we're getting quite an audience here. That's good. I like that. But yeah, really, I just really wish they had there's no comments or anything, is there? A lot of Algorand folks in the comments. I just want to look, but I don't know who this is. No, thank you for pointing that out. I didn't realize. I thought I had the sound off. I don't know. The way the muting and sound works on X is kind of confusing to me. Yeah, I appreciate that, Cathal. Appreciate that a lot. Does any of you guys know who these people are? I don't recognize any of them. Let's I just want to see if we can find who we're looking at here. Agenda. Okay, this is today. Okay, it looks like, is it this one? Ethereum's appeal. That looks like these people. Yeah. So we're actually like, we got one more before this. We got someone named Jack O'Halloran, then Trump, then Stacy. So we're actually a little behind. Surprise, surprise, right? Cathal says, okay, so we got a little ways to go here. Put the chart up instead. Oh, did it pause? Nope. By the way, thanks so much for pointing that out. Oops, I don't want to show that. Or that. We'll show that. Okay. Now the pair has open sourced its code, do you see a bunch of new wallet apps appearing? Maybe. I don't know. That's an interesting question. I imagine it takes a lot of work to create a wallet. And a lot of security and other things. So like, even if you just had the code, like I think there's probably still a lot that has to go into it that would make it challenging, and also like it seems like kind of a dangerous space, because I don't think anybody wants to be in my algo's position. Which, by the way, like I that's one of the things that annoys me, is that we've never gotten to the bottom of that. Like the whole thing just, they did one update where they said the FBI was still investigating, and then that was kind of just it. And like, I want to know what happened. I find that a little bit frustrating. El Mysterioso says, is Stacy scheduled to speak on a specific topic? Well, she is building a future, here it is, building a future-proof financial system. And she will be, well, Ben Strack will be the moderator. She will speak with that, and it's a one-on-one. She's scheduled to go about 20 minutes. So, and like I said, we're behind. We're actually 2 speakers before Donald Trump. So we got, okay, now we're on to this guy. And I think that is I think that's that Jack O'Halloran guy. That looks like him, huh? Yep, that's him. So once he's done, who is he? He's the CEO and co-founder of Scale Labs. Have you guys heard of Scale Labs? I haven't heard of Scale Labs. Snail says, I was part of my algo, never heard back, etc. I always have a few wallets now because of that. Snail, did you actually work on my algo? Is that what you're saying? So the FBI just never got back to anybody? That's interesting. Yeah, I covered the heck out of that one. This is interesting. Hold on, I want to pause on this. There are no real use cases for blockchain other than SOV. I don't know what SOV is, but no, I got hacked. Yeah. Okay, we'll get back to that. Speculation is the only use case. No one uses blockchain. It is just 500,000 people trading against each other. Yeah, this is right. These are the things that you hear from normies, because there's some truth to it, right? I think a lot of it is that, how would I put this? By the way, not to brag, but I got more live viewers on X than AJ does right now. But yeah, I think he just started, so he'll probably overtake me. But we're at 300 on X. Wow. Apparently I got a stream earlier. Apparently I got a stream early. Maybe I should start doing my stream earlier. Yeah, this is not we can keep going here. That's not wrong necessarily. I think people, the Algorands of the world are kind of rare, and I think people are still really minded towards meme coins and speculation, and I think we got to fix that. Anyway. Yeah, I guess I could have looked at my audio mixer and I would have known. Yeah, so when the my algo hack happened, like I was all in on that. I was like, I did 3, when the hacks first came, I did 3 videos back to back. The first one was after an already really long day. I'd already worked like 11 hours, and I sat down on the couch and I pulled up Twitter and I saw that the hacks were happening, and I was like, oh no, we got to get on this. I had to get on it and make another video, and I did. And I grew the channel a lot, but I also felt like I was doing a service to the community, because frankly I was the only YouTuber that like seriously jumped on it and got news out to the public. And to me it was really important. This was like, you got to drop what you're doing. It was a drop what you're doing and get on it. And yeah, I definitely I made videos about how to rekey your wallet. That was a really important solution. So I didn't get hacked, fortunately. One thing I was wrong about, though, I was 100% wrong. I thought this would be like a really serious ding against Algorand, and that it would be hard for Algorand to overcome it. And I was wrong. Life moved on. And not everyone, I'm sure there were some people that were so disgusted by the hack, but they never came back to Algorand, or maybe even crypto in general. But not everyone. Yeah, we definitely saw people who came back, and Snail, you're one of them. Like, you got hacked and you're still here. UX, UX, UX. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I should be watching this actually, maybe, because this is exactly what I'm talking about. UX, UX, UX. Zero gas fees for most end user interactions. Yes. This is what I've been talking about. I talked about this with John Woods like 2 years ago. Like, it's going to be successful when crypto will be more successful when people don't have to care about crypto. It's going to operate in the background. And that's why Algorand, I think, is like the chain, or one of the top chains. I like other ones. I like, I like Hedera. I make videos about Hedera all the time. I'm interested in SWE. There's some stuff I don't like about it. There's some stuff I definitely do like about it. I like what they're doing with UX, actually. Come to think, speaking of that being up there. So we're gonna cut. I'm gonna stop speaking when Trump comes up, because I'm really curious what he'll have to say, and then we'll power through with Stacy too. Funny thing is, it doesn't look like there's not really a lot of pause between speakers. They're just jumping right on it. Snail says he lost 1,500 algo. Yeah, that's rough, man. I'll tell you what, it was heartbreaking. I think the last one was 2 months ago. I'll still get comments on those videos with people who say, I lost all my algo. What can I do? And I have to tell them, sorry, there's really nothing. It sucks. It really sucks. And I feel really bad for the people who lost a lot. Anyway, while I'm waiting for that, I'm just going to check, see if I get any viewers on Kick. Nope. I think I did for a little while. It's coming on. This is why I like using OBS. It's coming nice and clear. Yeah, very cool. And then I'm gonna check. I just kind of like to look at what the numbers are doing. X numbers are crazy. Yeah, 20. Okay, that's good. I get so many views on X, and sometimes I worry that maybe I'm bleeding viewers from YouTube, but it's fine. Still got more viewers than AJ right now. I like. By the way, I'm not saying anything bad about AJ. I actually like him. Do I think Miss Stacy sleek? I don't know what that means. Oh, I should. Yeah, I like everything. I like everything in this guy's slide. I don't know anything about scale, but I agree with what he's saying. But the thing is, Algorand's doing this stuff. That's why we're here, right? That's why we like Algorand. Oh, well, Mrs. Stacy's speech have an impact? I don't know. Good. I mean, it's a good question. I don't think speeches, I mean, it might move. It depends on what you mean. If you mean price, like, I don't think it's going to have a big impact on price. If it means people might pay more attention, I think she's in a really good spot. Algorand has been going up. It's been going up since we've been watching the stream. We're at 20.015 right now. I'm really waiting, by the way, I'm really waiting for Tinyman to launch its limit orders. I think that'll be a game changer. That'd be great. If you can just put in limit orders, then you can do it all on chain. You don't have to have it on Coinbase. Love what I'm seeing here. It's crazy how many blockchains there are, though, and like this scale. And I think I've heard of it before, but they got a lot of games. I wonder how many of those are live, though, because that's the thing. Whenever you look at these maps, like sometimes they just don't have any. Like, the games aren't live. Like, there's still a bunch of games on Algorand that aren't live, which is kind of annoying in my opinion. Like, I really like Age of Tactics. I played a live demo at Decipher in 2022, and it's still not out. And like, the game seemed like it actually functioned, like it was functional. maybe they didn't have all the stages or whatever, but like the game was working and it was fun, and I didn't remember seeing a lot of bugs. Maybe I'm misremembering. That's possible, but not price, but we'll put Algo in the limelight. Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, they're in a really good position because she's right after Trump and right before Michael Saylor. So I don't think you're going to see a lot of people getting up. Okay, we're going to start pretty soon, so I'm going to turn it on. I'm going to stop talking. So here we go.
Please welcome to the stage Jason Yanowitz.
How we doing, everyone? Good, good. I'm Jason Yanowitz. I'm one of the co-founders of Blockworks. In about 30 seconds, we have a historic moment. The President of the United States is going to address the Digital Asset Summit. This is the first time in history that a sitting president has addressed a crypto conference. I know everyone has their phones out, but please give a massive round of applause and help me welcome the President of the United States to address Digital Asset Summit.
To everyone at the Blockworks Digital Assets Summit. It's an honor to speak with you about how the United States is going to dominate crypto and the next generation of financial technologies. And it's not going to be easy, but we're way ahead. Just 2 weeks ago, we hosted the first ever White House Digital Asset Summit, bringing together many of the world's top leaders in crypto for a conversation led by our White House AI and crypto czar, David Sachs, who's a fantastic and very brilliant guy. That same week, I signed an order creating the brand new strategic Bitcoin reserve and a U.S. digital asset stockpile, which will allow the federal government to maximize the value of its holdings instead of foolishly selling them for a fraction of their long-term value, which is exactly what Biden did. He got a fraction of their value. We're ending the last administration's regulatory war on crypto and Bitcoin, and that includes stopping the lawless Operation Choke Point 2.0. Operation Choke Point went beyond regulation, and I mean far beyond. It was a form of lawfare through government weaponization. Frankly, it was a disgrace. But as of January 20th, 2025, all of that is over. I've also called on Congress to pass landmark legislation creating simple, common sense rules for stablecoins and market structure. With the right legal framework, institutions large and small will be liberated to invest, innovate, and take part in one of the most exciting technological revolutions in modern history. It's so big, it's, I think, as big as you can get. Pioneers like you will be able to improve our banking and payment system and promote greater privacy, safety, security, and wealth for American consumers and businesses alike. You will unleash an explosion of economic growth, and with the dollar-backed stablecoins, you'll help expand the dominance of the U.S. dollar, and many, many years to come, it'll be at the top, and that's where we want to keep it. We only want to keep it at the top, always. I can already see that the energy and passion of the crypto community is the kind of spirit that built our country, and it is exciting to watch as you invent the future of finance. And right here, it's going to be right here in the USA, the good old USA. Together, we will make America the undisputed Bitcoin superpower and the crypto capital of the world. Thank you. Good luck. God bless America.
Starting to the point, man.
Please welcome to the stage Ben Strack and Stacy Warden.
Here we go. East. It is better walkout music, though.
Damn, Ben, can Blockworks pull on the firepower or what?
Yeah, quite a moment.
I mean,
Seeing
President of the United States, it's unbelievable.
the first sitting president to address a crypto conference. So what a moment. It's a privilege for me to share the stage with Algorand Foundation CEO Staci Warden.
Almost like the President of the United States.
Exactly.
Almost.
This has become quite a coveted time slot here on this Thursday morning. First, if we could just get a brief introduction, if you could briefly introduce yourself and just kind of share, where you were before jumping into leading the Algorand Foundation.
Yeah, I spent a lot of my career in traditional finance. I was at JP Morgan for 8 years. I worked for Mike Milken for 8 years. I worked in the Treasury Department. I ran the microcap markets for the NASDAQ for a number of years. So I have been in and around traditional finance for my entire career. I got interested in Bitcoin in 2013. I thought it was really a solution I worked a lot in emerging markets in developing countries, so I thought it was a very important solution to some of the issues that they face, and kind of never looked back. And the thing about crypto, it's a one-way street. You get on it, and you keep going further, and you never go back to traditional finance.
Yeah, and we'll get into as many topics as we can in the next 18 minutes or so, but first, we just saw President Trump address this conference. Wanted to get your initial thoughts on, those remarks and how you kind of expect this administration could help spur blockchain adoption.
Yeah, well, the main takeaway for me, and I don't know if you caught it because he did mumble the word just a tiny bit, but the Bitcoin algo strategic reserve was very important, I think, thing that he said. They're going to call it the AB reserve, algo and Bitcoin. No, look, he, make Algorand great again. He wears that hat all the time, so he cares a lot about my blockchain, of course. But he did say, and he always says about making America first, and not just in crypto, but in everything. But it's just after the, as Mark Andreessen said, the foot on your neck, right? Like that we've had for the last 4 years to have, from the very highest levels of government, encouragement and support. And frankly, we don't even need, directive support. We just need to, not be hampered, right? Like we have the deepest, most liquid financial markets in the world. If we could just have a level playing field, we can definitely compete globally in the United States. So, of course, I was, like the rest of the audience here, very heartened to hear those remarks and how he's prioritizing the sector.
Yeah, and I remember chatting with you 3 years ago when you took over.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah. And now on the inside of this industry, how do you kind of see blockchain tech fitting into TradFi systems, opposing them as we kind of look to build this future-proof financial system?
Yeah, I don't think in a future-proof financial system they're going to be opposed at all. But when you look at the financial markets, they look like crochet. They're beautiful on one side, very seamless. But if you turn it over, there's all kinds of just nonsense going on in the back office. And crypto is, and fintech tries to make that front side even better, but there's still all of this nonsense going on in the back. And crypto is very different than that. It is not a liability-based framework. It is, a bearer-based framework. It is actually digital cash. And a lot falls out of a framework like that can really help traditional financial systems and make them work better. For me, I think there's the big six, which I can just kind of rattle through. First of all, it will help with back office incredibly. If you are just writing to one ledger as opposed to having different kinds of, even internally in one institution, different kinds of balance sheets, talking to each other and constantly reconciling. Just have one ledger. You can get rid of intermediaries. If you look at just the most basic mortgage securitization vehicle, there are so many intermediaries in this. It's basically you set up a vehicle and then you get the mortgage payments, the principal payments, and the interest payments come in, and you have to divvy them out according to your waterfall. But, no offense to the calculation agents in the room, no offense to the paying agents in the room, all of this can be done in code. It's just really can be done with smart contracts. So. And these, just a mortgage securitization vehicle takes, 30 or 40 basis points, right? This is 3 or 4 basis points. This is $30,000 or $40,000 on $1 million loan, right? So just the savings in that can be really profound, I think. And then I think the third thing is composability. Everybody in this audience knows about DeFi composability. We talk about it all the time. But there's other aspects to it which are also quite important, like the ability to just embed finance in anything. A company building on Algorand called Ultrade, you could basically build a DEX. They can white label a DEX for that. You can put in whatever platform you have, right? You can think about identity as a composable framework, Ben. Like imagine not having to KYC for every single financial, counterpart that you, imagine being at a bank and not having to do KYC over and over and over. Imagine banks being able to share KYC framework, like stuff like this is, and then of course, I think this is like number 4 on my list, you can, tokenization, we've talked a lot about that in this conference, you can create markets that didn't exist before, you can bring liquidity to markets that weren't, that didn't have liquidity before. We have a number of different examples of that in rental income, for example, where you and I are not going to buy an apartment building to get rental income, but that's a very good diversified source of investment income. And so now, with a company building on Algorand called Lofty AI, you can, and it happens daily because this is Web3. You can buy just for $50 a portion of a rental building or a property of some kind, right? Markets that didn't, a company building on Algorand has created a secondary market in airline tickets, for example. Like you don't have that kind of thing without Web3, right? And then last, Ben, all of this can be yours 24/7, 365 days a year. It doesn't, we think in Web3, we think it's cute that you like wait for the opening bell in TradFi, right? Like all of this, your ability to move money 24/7, it's going to help finance. Like financial traders, they make sure that they're, so electrons are not disadvantaged. They have cables on the New York Stock Exchange to make sure they're not one is like even a tiny little bit further away from the other. But then they take the entire weekend off, and stop at 4 o'clock. It's ridiculous.
Right. And you mentioned tokenization. We've heard a lot of talk at this conference about tokenized real world assets, stable coins. So we'd just love to hear, blockchain adoption is going to come down to utility, and we've seen some gaining steam. These tokenized money market funds. There's one available on Algorand.
Aberdeen money market fund.
Yes, yeah. BlackRock and Franklin Templeton have their versions of it as well. Yeah. So just curious of your thoughts on the utility of those, how you expect those to be used going forward, and kind of how they might interact with stable coins in the future.
Yeah, I will say, and you wrote a very nice article about this just the other day, but I will say that tokenization cannot exist without stablecoins. Like they are one and the same thing. Because if you have tokenized the asset side, but you haven't tokenized the money side, it just doesn't work. You're not going to, the whole thing that Web3 gets you, what we did with Aberdeen is it gets you an atomic swap. So what we did with Aberdeen is we tokenized a money market fund, and then a company named Quantos, who's a MiCA compliant, regulated by the Dutch Central Bank, programmable euro. It's actually not a stable coin, it's a programmable euro, digital euro. What is interesting about this is the fact that you can trade instantly, where clearing is settlement. You can trade instantly a tiny sliver of that Aberdeen money market fund for a digital euro, and you're done. And so if one leg of that trade is missing, you don't have anything, right? So they don't compete so much as they, I think, are essential together to get the real benefit of Web3.
Right. And we've also heard about the debate of what shouldn't be tokenized potentially. So would be curious to hear just from your experience, maybe assets tokenized on Algorand with little volume, and how you kind of expect some of those to evolve over time.
Yeah, well, what I think is super interesting about entrepreneurs is that they always find a way, right? So a company called TravelX tokenizes airline tickets, and the relationship with your airline is terrible. You want to return your ticket back, and you can only fly in a year. You get all kinds of penalties, and so they had this idea. Why don't we create a secondary market in airline tickets you can sell to somebody else? Okay, well this is, and you can, if you're a frequent flyer, you can also, give your lounge pass if you want to this person, right? And so, you can imagine you're going to college and you buy your ticket home for Thanksgiving for 4 years to save money, but you don't actually want to go home 1 year, blah, blah, you can sell it. Well, this market is not going to be very liquid. Like the number of people that want to buy my exact airline route on my exact day, it's going to be a limited number. This is not a deeply liquid market by any means. But the airlines, I used to always get asked, do the airlines like this or hate this? But it turns out the airlines just love this because they think of it now as a very easy way to take airline tickets back if they want. So your mother lives in Cincinnati and you are like a very good son. You bought a ticket way in advance to go to her birthday in Cincinnati. But you know, it turns out that your mother decided to go off with her girlfriends and do something like in the Bahamas, and Taylor Swift is doing a concert in Cincinnati that weekend. Well, it benefits everybody. You sell your ticket back because you don't need to go, and then that airline is going to turn around and sell that ticket for 5x because somebody wants to go to that Taylor Swift concert, right? So it's just making these markets a bit more efficient, even though the underlying market is not that. You know, a very interesting project we have going on in Italy with Enel. It's the second biggest utility in the world, tokenizing solar credits, right? So it's the kind of the same thing. Why can't you get, and this is only enabled again in Web3, why can't you avail yourself of solar credits, right? What if you live in Ireland where it rains all the time? What if you live in an apartment building and you're on the 4th floor and you don't have access to the roof? You can buy an Enel solar panel, and that solar panel can be off in the field somewhere where it's sunny all the time, and where Enel gets huge economies of scale because it's better to build a lot of solar panels together in one field than it is to put them on like one solar panel on one roof all over. And so, you know, maybe the market for trading solar credits is not going to be that liquid, but it's still critical to have that tokenization because Enel, you can sell back to Enel if you don't use, you know, all of your energy, you can sell back to Enel. It's tokenized, so it's just it's a very efficient way to do things, even when the market's not that liquid.
Yeah, and shout out to my mom in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
So you've told me that, you know, the tokenization can be the easy side. The tech side of tokenization can be the easy part. The regulatory hurdles might be the more difficult part for people looking to get into this space. So what might be some of the main hurdles for the players looking to get into tokenization and how they're kind of handling that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it comes down to the same things we've talked about for 3 days. So there've been some very good regulatory panels at this conference, I will say. You know, there is this idea of, even though regulatory certainty is getting better everywhere, you know, in the US thanks to the Trump administration, but Europe and the UK and Japan have all made great strides, the UAE. But regulatory harmonization, I don't think we're still there, right? And so these things move so fast that you do need some harmonization globally, and we're working on that. So I think that's quite important. I also think that the good things for consumers about Web3 is just how fast you can move your money, right? But from a regulator's point of view and from a bank, you know, an institutional point of view, the ability that somebody can pull money out very quickly, we saw this with Silicon Valley Bank, right? That's terrifying, and that's also problematic for financial stability, potentially, global macro financial stability. So those are the kinds of things you have to kind of figure out. You got to make sure that your advances over here in crypto don't lead to unintended consequences over here, right? But I do think, though, that we have gotten a little bit of a bad rap from regulation, because the bottom line for me and for, you know, people in this audience is that crypto can enforce regulation. You know, smart contracts can enforce KYC. On Algorand, you turn everybody off. It's at the protocol level. You turn everybody off and you whitelist them one by one by one. It's very easy to do, but you have that kind of granular control. On Algorand, you can embed in the token, because we don't have like a smart contract layer, like a kind of an Ethereum model. It's all assets are in the base layer. You can turn on and off an asset. You can have a clawback feature in the assets. You can kind of whitelist within the asset. Now, before anybody freaks out, once you declare that you can withdraw, that you're not going to be able to claw back the token, you can't change your mind later. But you know up front, this token might be clawed back, or it might not have the ability to do that. So my point is that Web3 gives you the tools to enforce sensible regulation much more than traditional finance does. So the regulators, I think, should be taking a much more benign view of Web3, and I think they will continue to do that.
Yeah, and so just kind of a follow-up on that, what will it take for more traditional institutions to move on chain? You talk about some of the regulatory things you might be watching. We heard President Trump talk about calling on Congress to pass a stablecoin bill. So how do you think that kind of all works together to
I
boost
mean,
adoption there?
I mean, the bad thing about traditional finance is that they protect turf, like everybody does. The good thing about traditional finance, though, is that they love money.
Yeah.
You know, and so we are going to lead, I think, probably with cost savings and better customer experience. And stablecoin legislation is going to be key to that. So I really hope we can get that done. The problem, though, even for the willing, besides like convincing upper management and all of that kind of stuff that they've been going through, and this point has been made in the past on this conference, but the hard part is kind of almost over now. We're in the hard part now. It will get easier going forward. But the idea with finance, though, it's very hard. It's so interconnected. It's very hard for one mover to move first. And so we have to reach a tipping point where everybody moves because they're all these balance sheets, as I said earlier, they're all talking to each other. So I think we're a little bit like in this period now where we all have to kind of move forward together. That's going to be tricky. That's not easy to do.
Yeah, and we have a few minutes left. Would just love to kind of hear your thoughts on, you know, maybe 5-10 years down the road, what sort of world are you envisioning in terms of how blockchain tech, tokenized assets are kind of integrated into everyday life?
Everyday life. Well, I think, first of all, the customer experience will be much more like their traditional finance experience. This, you know, 24-word mnemonic or 12-word mnemonic and the scariness of you're going to be able to pick to be much more easily in a custodial environment or a much more friendly, you know, Web3 environment, self-custody environment, and we will find things in between. So we're a proud member of the DREC Alliance with Cardano and Hedera and a number of others, where we're kind of, it's a little bit not quite custodial and it's a little bit like not quite your, you know, not your keys, not your coin, but we share keys and it's a kind of a multi-sig approach. It's pretty interesting. You know, so the industry keeps coming up with these new innovations, but I will say that what I think will happen is that traditional finance, every player will get tired and will no longer tolerate that their money is just sitting there doing nothing. This will not be acceptable anymore. You know, when you hold collateral with your bank, and your bank is, of course, earning money on your collateral, but you're not earning money on your collateral, your initial margin, your variation margin, all of that, putting the ability to embed yield and with quick transferability, that combination is incredibly potent. And so I'll give you just one kind of far out example of that is I will take my Aberdeen money market fund, which is yield bearing, and I will go to your coffee shop and I will buy a cup of coffee with my tiniest sliver of my Aberdeen money market fund, and I will be earning yield until I hand this to you, at which point you will be earning yield on this little tiny piece. So, you know, cash is an asset, apartment building is an asset, they're all assets. This continuum will get just completely blurred and more liquid, I think. That's my futuristic
yeah, and what might hold that up?
I think what could hold that up again is this, the coffee shop has to be able to take it, I have to be able to give it, like, you know, there's just a lot of coordination in the beginning for this, but then once you get to this tipping point, then it will be explosive, right? I mean, you and I didn't imagine when we had our first interview that we'd even be here, that we'd even be here right now.
Right.
And so when we talk again, when I talk after the president again in 3 years from now, we're going to be talking about stuff that we didn't even think we would be talking about here, right? But it just like, we just have to kind of keep, you know, we do a lot of work on education, and a lot of work on global education. We are doing, you know, payments into Afghanistan and now into Syria. And I think that these countries are also going to kind of leapfrog the traditional markets that we know in the West and the United States because they get it. Like they understand that with digital payment, they don't have to wait in a super long line to get aid payments, right? They know that they can hold value in the US dollar instead of in their depreciating, highly inflationary currency, right? aid agencies know that if they don't want payments to go to the Taliban, if they track those payments on chain, they can know that, and they can represent that to their own regulators. All of this, like, it's going to be a combination, I think, of entrenched players moving forward and the outsiders leapfrogging as well, and that's how we'll get to the promised land.
Yeah, thanks so much, Stacy. Look forward to seeing who your next opening act is. The president today, who knows tomorrow. And we have a great lineup of speakers coming up next, so thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I thought that was a really good speech. I think she said a lot of good stuff in there, and what perfect placement. I mean, 100% perfect placement. Couldn't time that better. I think we're going to stick around for Michael Saylor, so we'll watch that. But yeah, I think that turned out really well. Looks like we're still waiting. Anyway. Yeah, boy, we really had the viewers player, and this is the most viewers total I've ever had. Here he goes.
I've followed the program for the past few days. It's been extraordinary, and I'm happy to have the opportunity to present in front of you today. Could we go back one slide? I have prepared a new presentation. A few years ago, I created one called the 21 Rules of Bitcoin. This one's the 21 Truths of Bitcoin. And preparing for this, I asked myself, what is true today in the year 2025? And perhaps what are the truths that the mainstream world, the mainstream media, traditional investors, politicians, people that are just getting familiar with Bitcoin, with digital assets, what is it they don't know that seems very, very clear to me that I want to share? And so I've gathered my favorite 21 truths of Bitcoin today, and I'm going to start with the first. Bitcoin's an ideology. Freedom versus slavery, innovation versus stagnation, sovereignty versus dependency, property versus poverty. It's a very powerful ideology. It's spreading the entire world, and there would be no Bitcoin without the ideology. It's capitalism versus socialism. It's the individual versus the collective. It pops up throughout human history. We see these themes for the last thousands and thousands of years. You see these themes in the writings of the Austrian economists. You see these themes in the writings of Voltaire and the intellectuals of the 19th, the 18th, the 17th century. You even see these themes in the Constitution of the United States. The Founding Fathers had this ideology, and you'll see it echoing throughout Bitcoin. The second truth of Bitcoin is protocol. Satoshi created a protocol based on that ideology. The 21 million coins, the block sizes, the 10-minute centers, the SHA-256 hashing. It was an integrated protocol. It's not the only way you could have done it, you know. You could have base 10 math, but you could have base 2 math. You could have English as a protocol, but there's also French as a protocol. Bitcoin's a protocol for prosperity. It's a protocol for economic success, economic empowerment. And that protocol lives on in the software. Oftentimes people say, well, what about this quantum thing, or what about that technology thing? And the point that I make to them is that English language is a protocol. If you have to upgrade the software, you'll probably upgrade the software, keep the language. Base 10 math is a protocol. If you have to upgrade the software, rebuild the computer, you'll probably keep the base 10 math. Bitcoin is a protocol. You may change the hardware, you may change the software, you may change the nodes. The protocol is simple. A bunch of intelligent people everywhere in the world would like to keep their money forever. Once $1 trillion worth of money flows into that network, they'll be looking to figure out how to keep it, and then when it's 10 trillion or 100 trillion, or 500 trillion, you'll have a bunch of people speaking a language of economics, a monetary language. That is the Bitcoin protocol. Truth number 3, Bitcoin's an asset. One of those 21 million coins pops out. A lot of people just focus on the asset. They forget the ideology. They don't really notice the protocol. They think, do I have a Bitcoin or not? What kind of asset? It's the apex asset. It's better than cheese. It's better than palladium. It's better than gold. It's better than silver or copper or land or goats or cattle or lumber or pieces of paper that we call currency. Bitcoin is the asset, right? It is the asset based upon the ideology and the protocol that results in the greatest monetary premium in the world. Truth number 4, it's not just an asset. Bitcoin's a network. Bitcoin is not just a network, it's the network. It's the most powerful computer network in the world. It's a global network. Without the network, you can't have the asset. The asset is stored in the network. The network is a manifestation of the protocol. The network creates decentralization, that's true, but it also creates fault tolerance, mission criticality, redundancy, and all of the other technical, economic, and ethical qualities of the asset and of the movement. An ideology that spawned a protocol resulting in an asset that circulates on a network. That would be a simple articulation of what Bitcoin is. It's a truth. I would hazard to guess that the great majority of people watching the price of Bitcoin don't think about all 4 of those things. And they don't think about this as much as they should. Bitcoin is immaculate. Truth number 5. It was spawned by the Immaculate Conception. A nameless, faceless programmer gave it as a gift to the world. How do you create an immaculate thing? It's a God-given thing. It's a natural thing. We've had it since the beginning of time. No one took beneficial claim to it. No one asserts control over it. No one expects to cash in on it. The Immaculate Conception is an extraordinarily important thing to the network. That, combined with truth number 6, Bitcoin is ethical. What makes something ethical? What makes it ethical is you can take title to it, you own it, no one can debase it, no one can take it from you, no one can corrupt it, no one can control it. It's a thing of natural beauty. No country will ever trust anything that another country can debase or control. No company will ever trust anything another company owns or controls. No person will ever trust anything controlled by another person. In order to reach this great plateau of ethical, it has to be beyond the corrupting influence of any human, any man-made institution, any organization of people in the world. The Immaculate Conception was a necessary condition, but the engineering brilliance of Bitcoin was another condition, right? Bitcoin's it's a perfect machine made of imperfect components. That's the brilliance of the engineering. Can you make something that can a human being make something that other humans can't corrupt? Bitcoin's ethical. Truth number 7. That makes Bitcoin a commodity. What is a commodity? An asset without an issuer. Gold's a commodity. Corn is a commodity. Lumber is a commodity. Why is this important? Because in law, commodities have a special status. A company in the United States can be capitalized on commodities. It cannot be capitalized on securities. There's actually a special carve-out in corporate law for publicly traded companies. But maybe more importantly, I can stand here and I can tell you that I think the price of Bitcoin will go to 13 million over 20 years. I couldn't say that about a security. right? You have legal immunity to actually express your opinion about a commodity. That makes commodities politically superior, legally superior, ethically superior, financially superior to a non-commodity, to a security. And it's not just a little bit better, it's 100 times better, right? And so Bitcoin is a commodity. Bitcoin is actually the commodity. I studied commodities in my early professional years. Every other commodity can be created with technology, with capital, with know-how. If you were going to take your family's life savings and buy a commodity to hold for 100 years, and you thought about it, would you buy soybeans or corn or oil or natural gas or lumber, coal, silver? Well, no, they're all awful, and you know why they're awful, because it's pretty obvious to you that 100 years ago it was harder to make those things than it is today. And if the price of oil goes to $1,000 a barrel, we're going to frack it, triple frack it, hyper frack it, and we'll drive the price of oil down. Same with gold. There's been hyperinflation in gold multiple times. You know, the California 49ers found gold. We created so much gold that we crashed the economy of Europe. Every other commodity is going to actually explode in supply with technology and with price. That makes them all garbage investments for a long-term investor. They're in fact the worst possible investments as a long-term store of value. The king of them, gold, still underperforms the S&P index by a factor of 2 or more. So there's only one commodity in the history of the human race that wasn't a garbage investment. The one commodity is Bitcoin, right? A digital commodity. And let's talk a bit more about that. Why is it not garbage? Why is Bitcoin great? Bitcoin is a digital commodity. Every other commodity I can name is a physical commodity. Physical commodities are God-given, and anyone in the world can create them. Digital commodities were created by the brilliance of human beings in a fluke. You needed to have a brilliant engineer, Satoshi, give away this gift to the world. The world needed to embrace the gift. The protocol needed not to be defective. And after many, many years of not knowing whether it was something or nothing, it spontaneously monetized and came to life. It really is a miracle of the 21st century. Why is a digital commodity important? Well, you can vibrate a digital commodity 60 times a second on a computer. You can move a digital commodity at the speed of light. The AIs can decompose and recompose a digital commodity millions of times an hour, simultaneously moving it and distributing it all around the world at the speed of a computer. Can't do that with palladium. Can't do that with gold. There's no way Apple Computer's ever going to ship an upgrade that has multi-factor authentication on a physical commodity. It needs to be a digital commodity, and that's what makes Bitcoin special. Not only is it a digital commodity, it is the digital commodity. The most profound thing that happened is 2 weeks ago, the president signed into law via the executive order, Strategic Bitcoin Reserve. David Sachs said, Bitcoin is an asset without an issuer, spawned via an immaculate conception. It is decentralized. We recognize it as a store of value. It is our digital gold. You have the most powerful person in the world and members of the cabinet that are saying that it's the policy of the United States government that Bitcoin is the one digital commodity in the world. That's going to ripple. And, you know, I can create a digital commodity, theoretically, an asset without an issue, and I can give it a protocol that inflates it 5% every year. I could create any kind of inflationary monetary protocol. For example, corn and oil are commodities. No one doubts the fact they're commodities, but they're not scarcity. They're not capped. Bitcoin wasn't just a brilliant creation of a digital commodity. Bitcoin was brilliant because Satoshi capped the supply at 21 million. If I give you an inflation rate of 2% and the supply of gold, the economic half-life of your wealth is 36 years. When I give you an inflation rate of 0% in your digital gold, the half-life of your economic wealth is infinite. It is forever. The difference between 2% inflation and 0% inflation is you're dead in 36 years with 2% inflation, and you live forever with 0% inflation. Next time someone tells you that it's just a little bit of inflation and the 2% doesn't matter, I just want you to think about that, the half-life of 36 years versus the half-life of 1 billion years. And of course, with that observation, it stands to reason the next truth is Bitcoin truly is digital gold. Gold, what does it represent? Gold represents money and wealth in the human race for 10,000 years. It represents prosperity. It represents the king commodity. It represents the most ethical, virtuous, technically sound money. And the vast majority of the people in the world, they're not invested in digital assets. They're not invested in Bitcoin. They don't even know what we're doing here. You're probably, if you lined up 100 people on the street, to say that you're the top 1% is probably an understatement. You're at least ahead of 99%. So for the mainstream, when you say digital gold, what that tells them is that instead of giving away a gold medal at the Olympics, maybe it's time for a Bitcoin medal at the Olympics. What it means is that the golden age will give way to the Bitcoin age. What it means is a city with streets paved in gold maybe should be paved in Bitcoin. What it means is that if something is gold-plated, and that's how you monetize anything, a gold-plated lighter, a gold-plated pen, maybe it should be Bitcoin-plated, right? This is a very profound thing, right? The truth, Bitcoin is digital gold. We dismiss it as being kind of a boomery idea, but the boomery idea means Bitcoin's worth more than 20 trillion because that's what the gold is worth. But the truth is everything digital in our modern era is worth 10x the analog version. If Bitcoin is nothing more than digital gold, Bitcoin is worth $200 trillion if it's nothing more than digital gold. But of course it is more than digital gold because truth number 11, Bitcoin is digital money. JP Morgan said gold is money, everything else is credit. Money, a bearer instrument. I give it to you, I don't have it, you have the money. Well, Bitcoin is money. What is everything else circulating in the internet? Credit. What does that mean? It means that I send you something, I send you a fee over a credit card network. 45 days from now, maybe it will be transferred to your account after the credit card company takes 2%, right? In a world of digital credit, that means that it takes 4 years for the money to move 40 times, and at the end of the 4 years, all the money's gone. In a world of digital money, it means you can move the money once a second. Maybe you can move the money 60 times a second. You move the money 60 times a second for a 20th of a penny, you still have the money. The computers are not going to think one click, one settlement every 30 days. They're not going to agree to pay 200 basis points per vibration of the money, right? Digital money is profound. It's so profound that everybody in the business of managing money doesn't even understand what this means. When they understand what this means, then the industry is going to 100x. Bitcoin is going to go to the moon. Well, if Bitcoin is digital money, what else is it? Well, truth number 12. Bitcoin is perfect money. Okay? What is perfect money? If you read the writings of the Austrian economists, von Mises and Hayek, they write about money, but they couldn't conceive of perfect money. Voltaire, Aristotle, Plato, they couldn't conceive of perfect money. Why? They didn't have the technology. It's kind of like asking Aristotle, tell me about clean water. How do you understand clean water if you don't have a microscope and you don't understand that there are pathogens in the water? Nobody understood perfect money until Satoshi gave it to us, and that's because it was impossible to create perfect money before modern semiconductors, modern internet, modern cryptography. So they were struggling, and you can see Hayek and von Mises, they struggle with this notion. In the Constitution, the founding fathers, who were pretty intelligent, said the only legal money in this country is going to be gold and silver coin. They kind of knew this idea, a commodity in your hand, a self-custodied commodity bearer instrument, felt like good money. What they designated as perfect money in the Constitution, and we have drifted, a little bit away from that, they designated what they saw were the hardest commodities and the most liquid fungible commodities that could be used as a monetary token. And they were never perfect because you can't practically do every transaction by swapping gold and silver coins, and because gold and silver coins aren't hard capped, they have inflation. So they had defective money that was slowly decaying, that was not quite useful, but it was just, they used to say it's the worst possible way to do it except for every other way, right? And so the significance of this truth, this basically marks the point where economics goes from being a superstition and an art form to being a scientifically based engineering discipline. You can't engineer an economic system or a monetary system before you have perfect money. It's just like trying to do good math, but 2 + 2 = 5 on Tuesday, and it equals 4 on Wednesday. And if you don't have stable numbers, you can't do math. And if you don't have stable money, you can't do economics. If you can't drink water that's not going to kill you, life is pretty ugly, right? This is profound truth. Again, misunderstood. No economist trained in the past 100 years. They never took a course on perfect money. They never imagined it. But you can't really blame them. It's like if you went back to Voltaire and you said, okay, that's the smartest guy in the 18th century in France, and he wrote shelves of books. But poke him and say, describe, radioactivity to me, and how are we going to build mobile phones and satellite communications? And he would have thought, what are you talking about? Right? It's like the most brilliant person without the instrument, the technology, can't conceive of the rational thing. And that takes us to truth 13. Bitcoin is legitimate. A short phrase, a powerful phrase. It wasn't legitimate 4 months ago. A year ago, if you try to remember where you were and what you were thinking in March of 2020, when the entire crypto industry was under massive onslaught, everybody's getting sued, right? And the most likely future was everything gets ground into the dirt. We have completely come 180 degrees. This is the most powerful person in the world sitting in the most sacred place, the Oval Office, flanked by 2 cabinet members telling you Bitcoin is digital gold, a store of value, a commodity. Not just a commodity. If the U.S. seized 10,000 securities, all your artwork, all your houses, your planes, your trains, your automobiles, every currency, everything of value, your diamonds, your gold brooches, your silver, they'd sell it. Right? The only thing the United States does not sell is its national parks, its nuclear stockpiles, and its Bitcoin. Now, that's a shockwave that will be heard around the world. That just happened, literally days ago. It's going to take a while for that to ripple through the entire federal government. Then it will ripple through the state governments. Then it will ripple through the banking system, the insurance system, the credit rating agencies. Then it will ripple to all the banks in Mexico and El Salvador and Argentina and then Europe. It's rippling through the banks in Hong Kong and China and Japan and Abu Dhabi and Europe. How long will it take? Well, how long does it take for a profound good idea to move its way through layers and layers of bureaucracy? It'll take a while, but the innovators will actually grab this, and those that need the money, that want the money, will reach for and embrace the money, and they will be enriched by it, and there will be others that will resist it. But that entire shock wave, right, that explosion in legitimacy, that happened just a few weeks ago, happened on a Thursday night in the White House. And that's profound. We are legitimate. And as I've said before, if Bitcoin's not going to zero, it's going to a million, right? It's either nothing or it's something. And if it's something, then it's going up. And truth 14, Bitcoin is corporate. You know, I talked a little about corporate law. I'm very sensitive to it because I ran a public company for many years. We came public in '98. Every public company in the world is capitalized on one of two things. You're either going to capitalize on short-dated treasuries or sovereign debt, in essence currency, or you're going to capitalize on a commodity. Well, it turns out that every commodity other than Bitcoin underperforms the S&P index. It doesn't beat the cost of capital. So capitalizing upon silver or gold or palladium or oil makes no sense. There is one commodity that you can put 100% of a corporate balance sheet in. And that one commodity is a digital commodity, and that digital commodity is called Bitcoin. And so what does it mean? It means that for the first time in 100 years, companies can recapitalize, and they are recapitalizing. And what does that mean? That means a company starts by sweeping a little bit of excess cash, and then cash flows, and then it sells some equity, and then it issues some debt, and then another company follows, and another company follows. Right now, there's about 80 companies that are starting to buy Bitcoin, and there's probably 80 ETFs. We're going to see another one every week, and another one every week, and pretty soon there'll be hundreds. And those hundreds become the gateways for hundreds of trillions of dollars of equity capital and fixed income capital to migrate into the entire digital assets economy. And you can see it right in front of your face. You see a company like Metaplanet goes from one hotel being worth a few $1 million to being worth $1 billion in 12 months. Where does it stop? It's not going to stop, right? If you're legitimate, you're corporate, right? You're going to see a transformation of mainstream organizations. The 15th truth, Bitcoin is global. Everywhere in the world I go, I meet someone, and they say, well, thanks, thanks because I bought a Bitcoin for my daughter, or I bought a Bitcoin for the family. We appreciate what you're doing. And you know what I say? I say thank you because I appreciate what you're doing. Bitcoin is global, Your Apple stock isn't. Your land isn't, right? The artwork that you hold isn't global. Right? Bitcoin is a global asset. It means somebody in Nigeria buys it, and they're getting the benefit of entrepreneurs in Manhattan. And it means someone in Arkansas buys it, and they're actually in an economic relationship with somebody in Singapore. Right? This is not a lowest common denominator thing. You own Arkansas real estate, no one's going to fish you out of that investment. You own Bitcoin, you bury it in your backyard in Arkansas, and you'll wake up in 30 years and find out that someone in Tokyo or London made you rich. Right? This is the global asset. There isn't another asset that trades on Wall Street that is global in the way that Bitcoin is. And it's not just global, it's immortal. We're stretching in time and space. Show me an asset that stretches to every part of space that truly is global, Bitcoin. Now show me one that I can see into the next 100 years or 1,000 years. There's nothing else that you own that's going to last 100 years, right? Your warehouse will have to be redone. Your artwork will probably have to be restored, right? What company would you think is going to be around 200 years from now, right? The real beauty of Bitcoin is the elegance of the protocol is all you're doing is buying 1/21 millionth of all the money in the world forever. Okay, when is that going to obsolesce? Like when are you not going to want to own 1/21 millionth of all the money in the world forever? Right? It's not like iPhone 99. It's not like, getting the next upgrade on the whatever gadget. right? Bitcoin is immortal because the idea is so timeless and so elegant, and the network is just virally going to spread. You know, it's a life form, and if it's immortal, it means you can actually think 200 years in advance. No company expects to live more than 10, 20, 30 years. Everybody's short term. It takes me to truth number 17 is digital energy. A calorie is organic energy, a Satoshi is digital energy. If you want the AI, if you want to put life in cyberspace, if you want to bring an AI to life, you have to imbue it with digital energy. Then it comes to life. Then it thinks. Then it lives. Then it procreates. Maybe it lives forever. You can't, anything that is funded with digital credit is just a shadow. It's, you know, it's a shade. It's a ghost. If you want something to be a true life form, you have to put real energy into it. I've said many times before, Bitcoin is a conservative asset. I give it to you. I don't have it. It implements conservation of energy in cyberspace, but the more important point is it's going to bring life to cyberspace. Truth 18, if it's digital energy, then Bitcoin's a digital energy network. How do you move energy from point A to point B? How do you vibrate energy, right? How do you do it in a rapid, at the speed of a computer rate? How do you bring the entire world into that relationship? You can't do it with a credit IOU, and certainly you're not shipping gold from New York to Tokyo in a second. Which takes us to truth number 19. If it's an energy network, Bitcoin is a digital economic system. How do you post $10 million for 5 minutes, you know, with a company across the country and fetch it back? How do, you know, vibration, how do I give it to someone, take it back in 18 seconds? How do I swap a capital asset for a currency asset? We see this in DeFi, right? I'm swapping Bitcoin for stablecoin for Bitcoin, but think more broadly, right? Think about a world of 1 billion robots talking to 1 billion AIs that are thinking at the speed of the computer, that want to actually transact millions and millions of times an hour in time and space. They're going to do it with a digital energy network. And that takes us to truth 20. If it's an energy network, I can reverse it. Bitcoin becomes a digital defense system. Bitcoin is the most powerful network. What's the unit of power? The exahash. If I actually place my cryptographic keys, my identity, my authentication behind that hash wall, behind that wall of digital energy, then I can secure a system, authenticate a system, defend a system, potentially even attack a system. You know, you can't be a superpower if you lose control of your airspace. You can't be a superpower if you lose control of outer space. You can't be a superpower if you lose control of cyberspace. You know, control of the digital power network, the mining network, the hash network is control of the ability to move energy and capital from point A to point B. Control the network, control your destiny. Lose control of the network, you lose the ability to engage in digital commerce. Maybe you lose the ability to secure your cyber systems. It's a defense system. And with that, I'll end with my final truth, truth 21. Bitcoin is an emerging solar system. Everybody says it's a network, and then they go, yeah, I read something about Metcalfe's law. And Metcalfe's law is like knowing enough to hurt yourself. It's not a Metcalfean network. It's a Newtonian network. Bitcoin is an evolving network. Think a star system forming. There is matter, there is energy. It's the brightest thing in the financial universe. It's got a magnetic field. It is slurping energy, capital, into the magnetic field. There are objects in orbit. They're falling into orbit around it. All of you are in orbit around it to a certain extent. Every company, every country, every actor. It is getting more powerful. It will continue to get more powerful. It will continue to get brighter, right? A Metcalfean idea is like a little asteroid went past on the left and a white dwarf went past on the right, and they're both equal. Well, they're not equal. The white dwarf is going to suck the atmosphere off my planet, and the little asteroid is irrelevant. It's like a cute little shooting star. It made a little spark for me, right? This is not a little Metcalfean network. This is a network where when someone brings $1 billion to the network, it matters. When they bring 10 billion, it matters more. When they bring 100 billion, it matters more. The more capital, the more energy that flows in the network, the more powerful, the greater the gravitational field. Eventually, anyone in the orbit, right, has to adjust their trajectory in order to accommodate that gravitational field. You see this thing coming to life in front of you. It's going to have Newtonian dynamics, and it is an energy system emerging. And these are the 21 truths. Thank you for your time, and please go tell someone the truth about Bitcoin.
Well, what do you think about that? Probably a long time since you heard me actually say anything. We kind of ran right through Staci Warden into, well, we went into Trump to Staci Warden to Michael Saylor, pretty much straight through. We're not going to watch there's more a Saylor interview. Well, I think I've kind of had enough of Michael Saylor, to be honest. Let's get this back up to normal here. Yeah, we're still ahead of AJ, but we're behind BitBoy Crypto. Come on, you guys got to boost me above BitBoy, right? Pretty amazing though. This is actually the most live viewers I've ever had. We're total across all three platforms is 716. And by the way, I'd encourage you to go follow me on Kick, because I do some streams there that I don't do anywhere else. The major ones I still do everywhere, but let's see. Ride This Guy says, I kind of disagree on news. Can't make big pumps though. If Apple announced that Render was an official partner, it would almost certainly pump. I think what tends to happen is that leaks so early that it might go up a little bit. I wouldn't say never. Okay, fair enough. I wouldn't say never, but it seems like it seems much less powerful than it was, say, when I first got into crypto in 2017. In 2017, like the slightest thing could move the needle on pumping crypto markets, and now it takes a lot. I mean, we had a whole White House crypto summit like back in 2017. If that had happened, the markets would have went bananas. And today it's kind of like, we're gonna go down a little bit. What happens is, and this has been kind of true for a while, by the rumors sell the news, is because when it really starts pumping, when the news actually comes out, when the news comes out, what happens is, everyone sells it because it starts pumping a little and people sell it. So, yeah, I think that's interesting. I've actually made quite a bit of money off of Bitcoin. Not as much as I would have liked to, but definitely made some profits on it. And I think after this bull cycle, if there even really is a bull cycle, I'm just going to start DCAing into Bitcoin. And that's going to be my strategy for Bitcoin, which is not my alt strategy, by the way. But for the rest, yeah, that's what it's going to be. So great placement for Stacy, by the way. I thought her speech was really good. Ice Age said 7 out of 10. I'd actually give it higher. I thought it was 8 or 9. I thought it was pretty solid. I didn't know that it got a little, I mean, not a speech, I guess it was an interview, but maybe it dragged a little bit at the end, got a little mucky and not so interesting, but hold on a second. I don't like that. There we go. Yeah, it's a little better. Look at Martin Shkreli getting 7.2. That's crazy. His live stream's like really boring too. I tried to watch it. He used to make some really good, he has a really good series on how finances work. That's definitely worth watching, by the way. They're really long live streams where he just goes through and you can learn exactly how a stock analyst looks at stocks. It's really interesting. If you go on his channel, just do a Martin Shkreli financial lessons. They're really good. You learn how to do dollar discount models, which is really tells you a lot. It shows you a lot about inflation and how it works. But I've tried to watch his live stream. It's really boring. He doesn't talk a lot. He just kind of does trades, or I don't know what he does. Sometimes he's just programming. I don't know. He's a very interesting guy. I don't agree with a lot of things he says, but I think he says some really good things, and I don't think he's as right leaning as the media paints him either. He has some very, I would say he has some very nuanced views on different things. The big thing I disagree with is he thinks, I'm a big fan of, like, most people, if they don't want to pay much attention to stocks, but they want to gain, they should probably just be in index funds, and they do pretty well for most people. He somehow, I honestly don't really understand his argument, but he thinks the stock market he thinks index funds can be dangerous for people too. I think generally it's probably the safest type of investment for most people. It doesn't mean it's like going to be good everyone. I mean, things are down right now, and even my index funds are down right now. Huddle Bosch on X says, I don't think they're a bull cycle, only an endless bull run. There will be a mass adoption growing over the next 10 years. Well, what I think is, generally speaking, I think that the era of these big, huge bull runs and bear markets are over. I think it's going to start looking more like stocks. But we'll see. We've got a huge supply. There's a projected to be a huge increase in M2 towards the middle of the year. So I'd say we could see assets really pump up in late spring, early summer to midsummer. I think there's a good chance of that. Philip says, I just threw it all in black with algo. Yeah, I know a lot of people disagree with me. I think you should have your assets spread out. I think crypto should be an important but probably smaller part of your portfolio. I generally recommend that. I know everyone doesn't. It's weird for a crypto guy. Crypto guys usually don't. They just tell you go all in on crypto, but that's because it benefits them. And I tell you, like, you'll be disappointed if you throw everything in crypto, I think. Or rather, you really got to have conviction. You really got to have conviction. You got to be 100% sure. You just got to be able to take the lumps. Those are big swings. I mean, the thing is, my net worth has stayed pretty stable because I have a big chunk of my net worth into index funds, and they've just slowly grown and made me money. But I also could have put it all in Bitcoin, and frankly, I'd probably be richer if I'm being honest. Huddle says, I got all my algo on Tiny Man, holding for 5 years or more. Yeah, Tiny Man, well, do you mean that you have it involved in DeFi on Tiny Man? Because, like, Tiny Man's not a wallet, but I have most of my, but assuming you're saying what I think you're saying, oh, Near beat me. I was ahead of Near. Now Near's got more viewers. Oh, well. But yeah, I've most of my algo is involved in DeFi on Tiny Man, and I do those experiments. I just did a video for channel members only that got to see how my experiment has been going, which is not so great. And you can see the details if you watch that video. I'll make one for everybody probably in another month or so. Christopher Shirt says it's about 60% of portfolio. The rest is Coin, Mara, MicroStrategy, and PLRT. So are you talking about index funds? Is that the it's? Huddle says staking and restaking. Okay, so you're doing that, yeah. So I did the liquid staking, and then I'm taking the USDT and then using that as a pair. That's what I've been doing right now. Philip says, I think algo becomes deflationary in 2030. Haven't did any research. I'm in a while though. Okay. Yeah. No, I think that's true. And then I wonder what happens to the foundation after that, because I didn't bring it up. Well, maybe you know what? We're not really watching Michael Saylor right now anyway. Let me just pull this up really quick. Here it is. This is from Coop. So you may remember Coop, and he's got a pretty big count. Yeah, he's doing really good. Is he a comic? Did they say he's a comic? Host Comic Crypto. Okay. He says Algorand Foundation structured selling has been heating up. Seems unsustainable if the plan is to make it to 2030. Okay. Either they are scrambling for cash or a massive deal, partnership, or racing for the exits. What do you think? So there's a lot. It's like 9 million sale on the 17th. This is a little bit old, so it's, he posted this on the 18th. 12 million algo sale on the 13th, a 9 million on the 10th, 6 million on the 7th. So about every 2 to 3 days, or 2 to 4 days, I would say. Generally, there's some bigger gaps in there. They're selling millions of algo. So, I mean, I think that's, now I thought the structured selling was done. I guess, I thought they had said that. I thought they had said that they were done selling off to fund operations. That's what I thought. I remember that from one of the algo reports. Yesterday, everyone was crying at bonds for daring to say Algorand was centralized. Today, they're crying because Algorand Foundation is selling. Literally can't make this stuff up. Recoup here. We can. Oops. How Algorand Foundation distributes their dwindling pile of tokens is a different conversation than network being decentralized and censorship resistance. Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that 100%. Algo Foundation was awarded the most firepower in algo to grow algo ecosystem and adoption. Of course, people still want to know. Let's see what that says. So, of course, people will want to know how it is spent, especially as the reserves get low and sentiment plus price action deteriorate. That said, CCIP, etc., can be expensive, so they could very well be pulling the stake and selling it to fund integrations like that. So we don't really know what they're selling it for, to be clear, but yeah, it's really strange. Because you wonder, like, at some point, like the foundation was only bringing in like a couple million a year in fees, which is not much at all. That's barely anything. I mean, compared to that's not even a month of their burn rate, I'm pretty sure. And at some point, like, yeah, I just wonder what happens because they won't have Algorand to sell. They're not really bringing in enough to be sustainable. And I just listened to the latest, I think it was the latest. I listened to the podcast that they created from the ETH Denver, so I'm a little bit behind. And it was pretty short. You know, they were talking about other companies that build on Algorand, wanting them to have a plan for profitability. And I'm like, well, what's the foundation's plan for that? Or at least sustainability, right? Because at some point, like, you have to pay the bills. And I have a feeling that Algorand in 5 years is going to have far less employees because, let's be honest, labor is one of your biggest costs. By the way, we are over 750 viewers across all 3 platforms. That's amazing. That's truly amazing. And so, yeah, I just kind of wonder what happens in 4 or 5 years. Like, it seems unsustainable unless they change something. Let's see. Going back, I heard Silvio want the foundation to fade away eventually. Well, I think eventually that's the goal of all blockchains, right? Like, eventually the foundation has to, you know, the point is for it to become completely decentralized. But then who's building? How does it get built on? Like Bitcoin doesn't really, I don't know. I don't know enough about Bitcoin, but it's okay. So Christopher Schurtz clarified that Algo, Bitcoin, XRP, XLM, ADA, and HBAR are 60% of my portfolio. Yeah, I mean, if you can handle that level of risk, then go for it. I like to de-risk whenever possible, which is why I take profits on the way up, which is why my portfolio is completely de-risked. Huddlebosh says, did Stacy pay to speak or was she invited? I don't know. I'll be honest, I don't know how that works. But she did get a really good spot, so who knows? Maybe they paid to get that really good spot. I have no idea. Everything's centralized in a way. It was a SHIB guy. Well, yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, I really think there's a balance between decentralization and centralization. I don't think you can ever be fully 100% decentralized because, like, well, for example, who's right now someone is selling to enterprises to get them to sign up for, you know, to make partnerships and stuff. Like, who's doing that if there's nobody steering the ship? And also, like, when you talk about governance, like, I don't think every single aspect can be on chain because, you know, what do I know about running a blockchain? You ever tried to read the Algorand white paper? I mean, go give it a shot. Unless you understand high level math, and I mean high level math, yeah, you ain't getting through it. I mean, I don't understand high level math, and I started reading it, and I'm like, because I thought, probably should have read this, right? And I'm like, okay, never mind. There's been so much negativity on X lately, even from the algo community itself. I don't think it's just been as bad as it has been in the past, to be honest. I saw a lot of negativity like a year or 2 years ago. It was really bad. I think they're selling to decentralize the Algorand token. Well, I mean, that's the goal eventually, but they're not selling it just to sell it. I mean, they're selling it to raise money to fund their operations, I'm pretty sure, or to do something. Like, I don't think they're just selling it to sell it. That's different than the release schedule. The release schedule is what leads to decentralization. Huddle also says, I heard about the Euro CBDC being created. Maybe they want to be part of that. No, I don't. They are, but I don't think. Yeah, those talks are in the works. I don't think that has anything to do with selling tokens. Algo coin, zombie coin. Yeah, that's a real zombie coin with real. 70% of NFTs, airline tickets. Sorry, 70% of airline tickets in Mexico are minted on the Algorand blockchain. 30% of electricity bills on Algorand are minted on Algorand, are paid through the Algorand rails in Afghanistan. The Care Wallet's built on it. We've got an entire real estate network built on it. Monthly active users are growing month to month. But sure, zombie chain. You keep believing that. There's talk that 90% of Bitcoin is owned by 1% of wallets. Well, Satoshi still owns all his Bitcoin, or his wallet does, wherever he ended up. Shoot, I just realized that was off again. Algorand hasn't even been listed on Robinhood. Yeah, well, I don't think they have that many coins listed, do they? Also, if I'm correct, Algo is second top DeFi coin under ETH. Yeah, that might be. I don't know about that, but I know that Algorand is number 2 for number of nodes behind Ethereum for L1s. So only Ethereum has more, and that might even have changed, in fact. Let's see what it's at right now. Wow, 6,700 nodes on Algorand. Let's check Etherscan node tracker. We had this is weird. Big spike, so 8,100. So yeah, they're still in the lead right now. But then they dropped it to, that seems weird. I don't know well, I have heard people question Etherscan's data. Those drops seem really, really strange. So I don't know, but still, this is huge. This is a big number. Because back in October, it was only at 1,200. And it's grown to 6747, and I think that's why they incentivize nodes. Well, I know that's why they did. The incentives work. People were not just going to run a node just for the fun of it. A few people did, but like most people aren't. They want something in return. There has to be some ROI. Huddle says, I'm so confused. Why is Algorand so undervalued? Is their marketing not good because Solana is more known and Algorand is way better in transaction speed and efficiency? There's a number of factors. I think Algorand's marketing was really bad, and it got worse when they hired this lady from Nike, but she was like kind of a lower level employee. And I think what happens is I think it's easy for people in like the mid-level at a company to not really contribute a ton, but get credit for the wins. And I think they thought she was going to come from Nike and just crush it, at one Algorand, and she really didn't seem to do a whole lot. I know even John on my channel said he didn't think she worked out very well. The new CMO, I think, is doing an incredible job, and he's the guy who helped launch Android, the Android phone on Google. So obviously this is a guy who knows what he's doing, and he was like in charge of it. He wasn't like on the team that did it, you know, because you can be on the team and maybe you were one of the team members that did a ton, but then maybe you were one of the team members that didn't. So, but yeah, I think the new marketing guy is good, but some of it is just, there's like a meme aspect to crypto that is hard to parse sometimes. And, you know, like, well, why is Dogecoin ahead of Algorand, right? It doesn't do anything. It's just a fun coin. And that's fine to have. It's just surprising that I think the market until very recently has vastly overvalued meme coins and hype and some silliness. And then there's companies like Algorand that have just been quietly doing the right thing, quietly kicking butt. And it doesn't always, it's not as exciting, you know? Like you say something, you say like, she brought up the point about solar panels usage being tokenized on chain. Like, that's not super sexy. People don't get like super excited about that. Some do, like me, but you know, utility just isn't as exciting, but it's more important. And I think at some point it'll just be undeniable, because it'll be like, well, do you want to like invest in this blockchain that has a bunch of cool pictures but doesn't actually do anything, or isn't used for that much and doesn't work half the time, or do you want one that actually functions? Can Algorand launch their own pump.fund? Well, they have no adoption, no transactions. I just gave you, dude, you're full of it. Raphael, you are full of it. Okay. First off, tons of transactions. So you're just wrong. Tons of adoption. Actually more adoption in terms of applications than Bitcoin. I mean, I just listed off a bunch of them. So you can't say, if you're just going to say that, you're just full of it. You're just full of it. I don't know what else to say. So Algorand does have its own pump.fund. It's called rug.ninja. And I think it works pretty well. I think it's done a good job of keeping, well, you look at like Algo Tardio. So that got rug pulled. But because of the way it's structured, the guy wasn't able to rug very much. And the community took over the coin. And it's like crushing it. So doing really well. Anyway, yeah, almost up to 800 viewers. That's really cool. Hope you guys enjoyed this, and it was fun to watch Stacy on stage. Big long live stream. Wasn't really planning to go for 2 hours, but it's fun. So hope everyone has a good day out there. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the future.